This series brought to you by everyone who has purchased the game. Thanks heaps, guys. For those who haven't had a chance, check it out on the App Store now. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode. Last episode we created our game so we could move around and and it was working quite well and everything was good. There's something that I've just noticed. If we press play, you'll notice that the player has to tap constantly to move, which is originally what we wanted, but after a while it can feel a little bit jarring and a little bit frustrating. So I think it'd be better if we could hold down the button and the player could move. But the problem with that concept is we want to make sure that it's still grid-based movement. So that means, as we described before, that if you move one space, he moves one space, move one space back, he moves one space back. But traditional methods of using a 2D platformer controller would be that if you hold down the button, he can move any fraction of an amount, which is not what we want. So to fix the problem of what we have, to make it so when the player touches down on the screen or presses the key, that he moves consistently, he doesn't have to keep tapping, we actually have to do some adjustments to our code, our player move script. So to do that, let's open up our player move script. And I've already got it open here. And we can close that object spawner. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a it's private float, and we'll just call it time, or time between, we'll just call it time, if that works. And we'll equal that to 0.1 F. Yeah, that sounds good. Alright, cool. And then we want to adjust some of our update here. So right now it's saying if you press the get button down, horizontal, and then get access, if it's greater than 0, plus on the xpos variable and minus on the xpos variable, what we're actually going to do is we're going to change this function here, this call here, to just get button. Now straight away, if we go back to Unity and we press play, you'll see that the character moves crazily fast. It's because every single frame the player is actually moving, like it's moving one space every single frame, which is not what we want. So you can't actually have accurate movement. You want to have a little bit of a gap between each iteration of adjusting the xpos variable, exposition variable. So, to do that, we're going to change this. So we're going to say if input.getAccess horizontal, and then we can use this other keyword just after is greater than 0, sorry, and then we can use another keyword, two of these symbols here, which means and then we can say time is greater than 0.075F. And xpos is less than, no, we'll just leave that for now. Yep, that's fine. So if we say that, now this might not be the most, might not be like the super best way of doing this, but for our purposes I think it'll work fine, and it's quite a simple, elegant solution. But yeah, so what we're saying is, if the input.getAccess horizontal is greater than 0, so if you're pressing the right key, and if time is greater than 0.75, and that should totally work fine. All we need to do is change this to time equals 0.0F. Cool, and then we can just copy this part here and chuck it in here, and chuck this under here, and then all we need to do is, outside of these if statements, still in this section between in the input.get button horizontal, we need to just make sure that we're incrementing the time variable. So we just say time. I don't like that we've called it time, to be perfectly honest. I think that could become confusing. I'm just going to call it t. You can leave yours the same if you want, but I think that works better because I think time, you can get confused with time to double time, things like that. So t plus equals time to double time, and then everything is good, happy days. So if we go back to Unity and press play, providing we don't get a warning, you'll see the character can actually move left and right and still move in increments, which is awesome. It's exactly what we want. Now, the other problem that we're having is the player can move further off the screen, so you can just disappear, and that's not what we want at all either. So we want to actually adjust it. Now, what you could do in a traditional platformer is you just have a box collider there, so the player couldn't go past that. But that's not actually going to work because, like I said, we're not actually using a traditional 2D platformer controller. We're using a system in which we increment the integer, and then the player just gets pushed towards that. So I think that'll cause a lot of problems, and in fact, the box collider might not even work. Our player might just go through it. So to fix that, what we can do is I can just add another statement here that says if and xpos is less than 7. So what that means, like, you might be like, okay, this is getting confusing. That's all right. It's all right to be confused. I'll explain what's going on. And then we do this one. Xpos is greater than -7. So back in our game here, you'll see that if you go to our player and you zoom out, and we move him to about there, -7. So that's where we basically want him to stop. -7 and +7. So and the player moves via this position here, this X position. So we're saying that if input to get access horizontal, so that's like if the player is pressing the horizontal button, if it's greater than 0, if he's pressing the right button basically, and time is greater than 0.75, so that's what slows down it happening every single frame, and X position is less than 7, so if the character is less than 7 on the X here, or in this instance here, it's greater than -7, then it executes this code here. So you'll see now that what happens is if we press play, the player can't actually move further than this. Like, no matter how many I'm pressing right this whole time, and I can't actually go any further left or right. Now, you might actually want your player to move a little bit faster. All you need to do is change this number here. So I just changed it to 0.5 instead of 0.75, so that's like less wait time. And now the character moves faster. You could have it at 0.2, you could have it even slower if you wanted. The point is, this is just how much time it has to wait. So you could actually put this in a variable. In fact, no, we'll just leave it like that for now. Just don't want to confuse things. Okay, so I don't think we'll be touching that anymore, and I think that's where we'll let it be for now. But we need to actually, I think it's at the stage where we actually import an actual character. So right now we've just got a lame little cube. I know, sorry cube, but yeah, he is lame. And we need to actually bring in something that is some proper artwork. So once again, I got my friend Lucio to make some art for me, and he made the Keegan character, Super Keegan, and right now I'm just going to import that. So, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So all you need to do is import your art from wherever you have it, just the same way we've been doing everything else. Just going to downloads is where mine is, and I'm just going to click and drag over Super Keegan sprite sheet and drag him into the sprites. So you'll notice in the sprite sheet you'll see a bunch of Lucio's actually created my sprite sheet a certain way. It really makes it a lot easier to work with. So what I'm going to do is going up to the sprite import settings. I'm going to change from sprite mode from single to multiple. I'm going to click on Sprite Editor, and it's going to ask me to apply some settings. And then you can see my sprite character here. Now he's cool little dude with a sweet cape flying in the background, and then just a stock standard photo of him without the cape there that I don't think we'll be using. But yeah, this is what we got going here. So if I click on slice, you'll see it's got some automatic slicing. If I click slice, it automatically slices them. But I don't actually want that because the character actually moves a little bit, like a one frame or something, because of the cape here. So what Lucio's actually done is he's actually created it in a grid size. So what I can do is, I know that Lucio's created it in 32 by 32 grid. So if you're working with an artist, make sure that you ask them what grid they've used, or if you are making your own art, use the same grid, because it makes just importing just so much easier. So now when I press slice, it's perfectly sliced, so the player position is always in the exact same spot, even this player up here. And then all I've got to do is click apply, exit out of the sprite editor. I want to change the filter mode from bilinear to point, and I'm going to change the maximum size to 512 and go to true colors. Now this might be different for yours, but for mine this is the settings that I'm going to use. And if you are doing pixel art, make sure you always use filter mode point, because it doesn't try and blend blurry. It doesn't try and make it blurry, which would be good if you were using high res stuff, but we're just using low res stuff. And I'm just going to click apply, and then bang, we got our Super Keegan here. Something went wrong there. Slice, apply. Alright, cool. Alright. Awesome, now we have our cool like different sprites for Keegan. All we're going to do is we're going to click on the first one and drag to the third one. That's my my idle animation. I'm going to click and just drag it into the scene. That's the easiest way to do it. And I'm just going to name this animation idle. And I'm going to save this animation in assets, create a new folder called animations, and I'm going to save it in there. Cool. Another one we're going to do is click and drag the next three, not the next three, the last three for me, sorry, because the one without a cape is there. Click and drag that in. Whoops. I'm going to click and drag that in here, and we're going to call this walk. Awesome. So then if we go to our animations folder, you'll see we've got two animator controllers. We don't actually need two, so we'll just delete one. And click on our animator controller. If we double click on it, it opens up this animation thing here. Well, it's the animator controller. First things first, probably should, before we go into the animator controller, probably should go to our scene. Let's actually turn off our player, and let's go to Super Keegan, and he's a little bit small. In fact, he's tiny. So what we can do is we can just adjust these until we find something that we like. Let's try 5.5. Yeah, that's a good size, and that's the size that we want to use for Super Keegan. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete these because I just needed them to use for the animation. And on the player, I'm just going to turn the player back on, and we can actually change the player to be Super Keegan. And we know that Super Keegan needed to be at 5 and 5, so there he is. We're going to have to adjust his position. So we can just use this here. Ooh, it just needs to be a fraction up higher. Yep. And that's great. Our box collider, we need to, I'm going to actually remove the box collider, and I'm going to add a polygon collider. Actually, no, I think I will still, no, yeah, I'll stick with a box collider. Because our character is only getting hit from the top, really, and the sides, it's not going to matter. So, polygon collider 2D, I'm just going to move this up. Continue. Just asked me if I wanted to break an instance of the prefab, and that's fine for now. And you'll see that the size is actually quite a bit high. We don't want it to be that high. We can actually click on I think it's, oh, click edit polygon here, we can just drag that in. Don't want his hair to be touched, just where his, yep, that works fine, and just bring it down to maybe there, and that works fine for what we want to do. Cool, so our box collider is set up. Soundtracks all on there. The rigid body is exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same. But we want to add another component called the Animator. And we want to drag in this Super Keegan animator. And then when we press play, I'm not sure if anything will happen yet. Oh yeah, he's got the idle animation. And he gets hit by stuff. We need to change the box collider 2D to is trigger, the same as what it was on the box. So now things won't hit him. Cool. Go to Animator, and we got idle. The idle. So when the game enters, it goes straight to idle. We want to create a new state. Right click and say create state empty, and we can change the state to say walk. Change the button here to say walk. I don't know why it's not letting me. There we go. And then we would always want to right click and we want to say make transition, and we want to click up to walk, and then we want to say click on walk and click make transition, and we want to go back to idle. So that means we want the animation to change from walk and from idle back and forth from each other. So if he's standing still, he goes to idle. If he's walking, he goes to walk. And we want to create a parameter, and we're just going to create a simple bool, and we'll call this moving. Actually, we'll call this is moving, and we'll just change has exit time. No, we don't want him to have an exit time. Is moving equals true. So if he's moving, go to walk. If it's equal true, and then on this one, no exit time, because our animations are very are just pixel based, and is moving equals false. So if is moving equals false, go to idle. If is moving equals true, go to walk. Wow, that was a mouthful. Alrighty. So that should be fine. And one last thing is we want to go to Window, Animation. I like to drag it up in here. Click on the player, and so this second frame here, if we press play, you'll see that the player it's kind of it's a little bit jarring. So I'm going to actually grab this second frame and I'm going to put it on the third frame so it eases back. If that makes sense. So yeah, a little bit more smooth. And our sample size is going to be 6. This is just for mine. It might be different for yours, just depending on how you did the art. So now it's got that cool retro bobbing, cape flying kind of aesthetic, which I think is fantastic. And we can also do for the same thing for the walk. If we just click up here and we click on walk, we can change that. I'm not sure if we actually want to though, because it might actually be cool if we just. Yeah, I think he'll be walking that fast, so I think that'll be fine. Awesome. So that's done. We'll go back to scene. The player looks pretty sweet. Let's see if he moves around. All right. Okay, so I don't know what's going on. Walk, idle, yep, that should be fine. If we go to a player, if we just turn off this animator for a second. Something's going on with our walking, and I don't know what's going on. I'm going to actually go into the script haven't changed anything, so this is weird. Oh, 0.075, sorry. Oh, I was waiting way too long between movements. Oh, I didn't test that out before. Sorry about that, guys. Ah, cool, so he moves left and right and he bobs. He doesn't move to the walking animation, so let's fix that now. So all we need to do is there's a couple of things we're going to do. First, he's facing one way in the walking animation, and we want him to face the other way in the other instance of the walking animation. Saves us from coding a whole different walking animation that's identical. So all we need to do is we can say, under here, we can say transform dot local scale equals new vector 2 5-5. So we know that the player we want him to be 5 and 5. Unity's spazzing out. 5 and 5. And when we want him to face the other way, we just want him to be -5 and 5. So we can copy this, and we can paste it here, and just chuck a -5. So that's obviously that's x and y because it's the vector 2. X and Y, vector 2. Cool, and we also want to, underneath the input.get button horizontal, we want to write get component animator dot set bool open parentheses is moving, I'm pretty sure is what we call the variable, and we want to change that to true. Cool, and we want to copy that, and we want to create an if statement in the move player method that just says if, actually let's just drop this in here for now, if, just copy this line, if input.get button horizontal, then is moving equals false. Fantastic. So what that means is if you're pressing the horizontal, if you press the horizontal button, if input.get button horizontal equals false, so if you're not pressing anything, then turn is moving to false, which will turn our player back to idling. But if you have pressed it down, then it's set to true, which means he's going to be walking. Cool. Now let's see if that worked. Hopefully it did. Hopefully I didn't make a boo-boo again. Let's go. Yep, and you see he walks left and right. And you see if you touch to the side there, he continues to walk. Cool little animation. Awesome. I just think that adds just a little bit more flair to the game, makes it a little bit cooler, having an actual character there now. The game's starting to feel a lot better. But there are a few more things that we can do to just take this game to like the next level. Right now, as we play the game, the character moves from left and right, and he gets hit by these logs. Fantastic. It's pretty cool that it's random. The logs move down in random positions. They move at random speeds. You collect coins at random speeds. They come down. It's a bit random and it's cool. But the problem is this game can become quite repetitive after a while. Obviously, the danger is always the same in the way that it's the same logs and it's the same coins that always fall down. What I want to create next video is I want to start looking at some of the dynamic gameplay. We will add more dynamic gameplay down the end when we're fine-tuning the game in the last sections of this tutorial. But we need to add some more core gameplay mechanics, and I think I've got some really cool ideas for how we can create some really interesting gameplay in the next video. So if you want to check that out, check out the next video. And until then, like, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends. It's awesome to see how much this community is growing and what we're doing. It's really fantastic. Great to hear from you guys. Keep coding, keep getting better, keep perfecting your craft. If you've got any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you next video. Bye.